Hello, friends, and welcome. I have a special treat for you today. I am bringing on one of my clients. I want him to share his experience about coaching, where he was, where he is now. And the beautiful thing about this client is that they are an active member within our group. So you can always reach out to them privately and ask them questions. If you have any questions that you're like, I'm not really sure, I want to ask Jen, you can totally ask Alex about his experience. And here he is. Welcome, friend.
We did it. We finally got online.
All right. So I just gave a little introduction telling them that I was bringing you on, that you are an active member within our Facebook community. So they can always reach out to you if they have any further questions. But hopefully during this little video that we're shooting for them, a lot of it will be revealed. So I just want you to introduce yourself to everyone, tell them a little bit about yourself, and maybe where you were before we started working together.
Okay. So my name is Alex Malis. I'm a chiropractor, and I own a medical clinic in Maple, Ontario, which is in Canada. I am not just a chiropractor, I'm also a life coach. Well, now currently a life coach.
Yes.
I mean, it's been a very interesting time now with this whole craze that's been going on. But overall, before I started with you, I was in a very weird place, and I was in a place where I felt like I was being somewhat productive, but then not being productive, and I found that I had so many questions about where I wanted to be, where I wanted to go. And I was almost kind of, I would say in some sense, paralyzed by just the indecision, the feelings of not knowing where to go. And I think that was a hard place to be. And we actually started talking. You'd mentioned, you told me about some things. I was starting to get really interested in coaching because I'd done schooling for coaching, but I'll be honest, I was a bit ashamed to kind of reach out and get coached because of the fact that I kind of felt like I did all this work. I learned so many different things, and I'm kind of stuck. And but I followed up, and we started talking about different things. And it was interesting because when we first started it, where I was initially was very much, I would say, I didn't know which direction I wanted to go. I kept taking steps in one direction, second guessing, if that was the right direction. Then I would stop, and then I would halt, and I would feel really crappy as well. And I was stuck kind of in this cycle. And
And let's just clarify for everyone, when you're saying like you had done some training, you were trained as a coach already, right? But you hadn't taken the step to become certified. Like you were still.
Yeah, so I did a coaching course. It was a 7-month intensive course, and it ended probably, I would say, like 6 or 7 months ago, or even more, maybe 8 months ago. And although I'd finished everything, I really got lazy. I didn't do the exam. Life went back to normal. And it was always something in my head. It was always something that I wanted to do. I wanted to move forward. I wanted to kind of get that, but I just didn't. And obviously, as more time went on and on and on, I got lost, and I just kept pushing it back. So one of the first things that we did, because I really talked about really wanting to get into coaching, I wanted to get back into that feeling of inspiring and motivating people. And the first decision that I made that you really helped me with was kind of doing this exam. And I remember one thing briefly, which made me kind of put me in a little bit of an uncomfortable position, but it was kind of like an uncomfortable, but a good thing that I was doing. And, you sat with me, and well, I wouldn't say you made it, but you really helped me book my exam. I booked my exam in December after only working with you for 3 weeks. And I made the decision to do it. And it was scary because I hadn't been doing much for a while. I ended up doing the exam. I was supposed to coach with someone else, and I did very well. And I ended up getting certified. And it was actually a big turning point for me, because it was kind of this idea of, there's a lot of uncomfortable things in front of us, but, how many times do we say no, or maybe I'll do that later, or we make excuses? And as we were working together, it was like one thing after another. It's like, we're doing this, and then I did it. And then after, it's like after one thing, after you complete one thing, then it's like, okay, well, since we did that, what else can we do? And what
Yeah.
else can we do? And so,
Because we
and
started
so,
setting other goals, right? Like you were like, okay, well, now that that's done, we didn't expect it to happen so quickly, right? Because you had been waiting
yeah,
to try to get this done. And now it was just like, okay, within the first month, it was over, right? And you had
totally.
all this extra time now, and you had set other goals that you wanted to work towards.
Totally, totally. And it was interesting. Like my experience, I'll go back a little. My experience with coaching, I actually had a coach prior, and I had a coach for a year. And this actually was the reason that I started getting into wanting to coach, because I kind of liked certain aspects. But there was something about the coach that I was working with before that made me feel that it was very transactional. Made me feel like, we were right at the point when our coaching session would stop, and, it was a certain thing. And so after a period of time, I felt that that person who I was working with didn't really, wasn't, I didn't feel as cared for. I didn't feel like they had my best interest at hand. So at the end of it, I had a bad taste in my mouth. And, coming into coach with you, I think I kind of was worried a little bit about that, just because of, you pick up things when from other experiences, but it didn't take much. It's maybe after 2 sessions, as we started talking and getting things done, not only did I get more done, and probably the first 6 weeks that I was with you, I got more done than what I did with her in a year. So that was the first thing. And I never felt pressure. If anything, the one thing that if I look at both coaches, I look at you and I look at my past coach, is the amount of value that you brought it was so much more than what I was paying for. So it's kind of like, it was like a no brainer. I'm like, well, I've already done this. I've already accomplished so many things that I put in the back burner, you would say. And now it's like, why wouldn't I continue? Why don't I keep going? So I'll give you a little bit more. When we were going through our journey, one thing that I struggled with at work is, like, I run a busy clinic here. We have many different providers, many different doctors who work with us, and it can get very busy. And I have aspirations to do this, but I really wanted to get into coaching. I really wanted to get into that other aspect that really lit me up, and I couldn't find time for it. If anything, I always felt like, what, if I didn't have to sleep, maybe I could do all this stuff, but it's not realistic. So another thing that really
Recognize.
helped me in is the fact of finding. Sorry, say that
Go
again.
ahead. What did you recognize with us coaching as it related to your schedule and your time?
Well, I realized that I wasn't allocating time for the things that made me feel great. I was allocating time for the necessities, the needs that I had, but I wasn't thinking about those bigger things that gave me more fulfillment. And we really worked on this idea of, how do we create balance? How do we find a way to carve out time so I can get the things that I have to get done with respects to my business, but also do the extra stuff. And one thing that I learned in the process, that a lot of the extra work that I was doing was very much self-imposed. I put a lot more on my plate than I needed to. Another thing as well is that I didn't, I run my own business, so technically I can create my hours, and I kind of felt like I was kind of a slave to kind of the method or what I was doing. And so it's almost like there was a little bit of there's a big aha moment where I started realizing, like, wait a minute, I can craft things the way I want, and I can have my cake and eat it too. So as we started working through things, I rescheduled my work, and I was able to start making it work for me, where I had time to start dedicating to other things. And the beauty of it, if anything, it gave me more time with my wife, more time having fun, as opposed to being like, oh, I do this and I have to do that and so on. And just, I don't know, the feeling of balance, I would say, it's there's this intense feeling that you get, and it's this peace that I would say I'm experiencing now. And it's been like that for the last couple of months, because now it's set in a way, and it's really opened me up to what else can I do? really.
Yeah, because now we're working on much bigger things, right? Like
Hmm.
smaller tasks checked off, you made time in your schedule, you're feeling filled yourself, and you're feeling fulfilled in pursuing different aspects of things that you've wanted to do, that you've thought about doing, and now you're actually working towards it. So I know you're in a
Hmm.
very exciting place right now. So I want you to talk, because I know you had a very qualified coach before, like you
Hmm.
went with Tony Robbins' coach, right?
Yeah. Was it Tony
We
Robbins?
actually met like at the conference, so that was
Yeah.
really fun to
Yeah.
hear that experience. But I want you to describe a little bit about what the coaching relationship feels like to you as a client,
Hmm.
because I feel like it's something, if you've never done it, people don't understand what it kind of looks like or what it feels like, and there may be
Hmm.
some misconceptions. So I want to hear from your perspective what that was like.
So the coaching, well, first thing, it's a very, I would say it's a very authentic and very gentle relationship. It really depends on the person. And for me, at times, you were very gentle with me, I think in the beginning, kind of getting to know me, but then once you kind of understood, what I was asking for, because I mean, I think there's different ways of coaching. And one thing is like at certain points, a good coach really knows when to push and when to take a step back. And we had certain times where, in the relationship, as we were kind of progressing, it's like we had times where we would celebrate and times where we would have so much fun. And so, if anything, I would say the calls are they're very empowering. Every time you leave a call, I always felt better. I always came with some new perspective, or if I didn't accomplish the thing that I wanted to accomplish, the questions that we'd ask would really kind of look at, well, what kind of got in the way? What were the things that really prevented you from doing this? So it was never like you're kind of like, oh, you didn't do this, you didn't do that. It wasn't about that. It was really about, let's try and figure out the things that are getting in my way so I can produce, I can feel happier, and we can both celebrate together. So it's almost like I felt that you're my teammate. It's not like you're like, you do this and you do that. It's not like that at all. If anything, it's this person who, well, I'll say it's, you cheer for me, and you're in the background. And if anything, you give me tools and ways that I could pursue things in a way that truly helps. What I find that's really beautiful about coaching as well, and especially with you, because I mean, you're my coach, and I don't plan on going anywhere. Is the fact that it's this aspect of accountability, and this idea that we set goals, we set things in place, and I know in the back of my head that I've told you things and that you're going to ask me about them. And that in itself, I think, is powerful, because of the fact that, first of all, the things that I truly want to do, and there's an aspect that, I know I'm not letting you down, but I personally don't want to go against my word. And I don't want to go against, what we put out there. So even like what our last coaching call, when we were speaking, I had to reach out to a bunch of people so I could start coaching as well.
Mhm.
And if I didn't coach with you, I may have left it a week or 2 weeks or who knows how long. But I mean, our coaching call was at 1:30, and I did it at 12:30 the same day. It's just this aspect that I'm like, I'm not showing up without doing those things.
Yeah.
Another thing that I
You're also the creator of my favorite compliment, where you're like, you're my get shit done person. Like, I
you're
know
to,
things are
you're
gonna get
totally
done.
that. That's exactly what you are. So, but what's I had a thought. I was going to say what's interesting is that, because I've done different things. I've done coaching in a model where I didn't have to pay initially when I was a student, and then I mean, this is my first time actually paying for coaching. And what's beautiful about it is that when you actually put your money and you invest in yourself and you invest in these things, what I find is that it's like you put skin in the game. There's something that there's it's not just you're not just meeting with someone to kind of be accountable to certain things. When you pay it forward and you do these things, what's beautiful about it is that you want to get the most out of it. And that's what I did. I knew that my time that I was with you, and I know the time that we're spending together, is going to be exactly that I'm going to push as much as I can, because I want to get as much as I can out of these sessions. So, and I think we really did that. It's, if anything, it's been such an amazing journey. And, I was even saying, it's like, I've told you this before, but I think I wish more people got to know you, because I think, and if they could have the experience that I had, I think a lot of people would be so excited to coach.
Yeah.
So,
Super excited to have you. Thank you so much for sharing your experience. I
oh,
hope this inspires people. And remember, like people, he is in the Living Out Goals Together Facebook group. So you can totally send him a private message and be like, did you really mean that? If
mhm.
you have any questions for him, he's there. I'm here. So happy. Thank you so much, Alex, for joining me. It's been a pleasure coaching you. You are one of my favorite clients. So I've
Mm,
had just as much fun as you've had.
mm.
And I want to continue this work with everyone out there. Like, if this is something that you are interested in, please don't hesitate to reach out. Have a good one, Alex. Thank you so much.
Take care.
Bye.